Let's set up a separate meeting with the chief enforcement officer and see if there's a way to work with the county. We've gone down the deputization path. It was problematic, but we can.
So if we want to avoid that, right?
Sorry, I think that's a wonderful suggestion. I think it has to be a two-pronged approach. I think you're absolutely right. You want to reach out. That's my fault, since I was supposed to meet with the dog people, because we don't want the tempers to rise. So one is to reach out and find a solution that accommodates all the interests. And the other is, as you suggest, the enforcement.
And Mr. Chair, our guy should know not to call because he cursed at me, but rather, right, when that big 180-pound dog is charging down the lane, and it, in their judgment, becomes an imminent threat, right? Then you place the call, and frankly, you guys prioritize it, right? It becomes your unnerved thing.
Just quickly, what do you do when it's a citizen situation? There is no park security in view. There are dogs loose. You feel threatened. What do you do?
Tell 911.
So, how do you tell the public that?
But it's fine.
I mean,
what do you think?
it just, I
Well, I
just
think
see that
we gotta,
if it's not a controlled situation where everybody knows the rules, it's posted, everybody follows suit, the park doesn't take the beating it's taking physically from the dog traffic on the lawn, and people feel safe to go there. You might find more people in the park earlier in the day. The rationale, whether there's nobody around early in the morning, could be because the dogs are loose. It's not just, so
Sure.
I think you really need to think about it. And the other side of it is, there's only security in that part of the year. So it's a year-round situation. It isn't just seasonal.
well, Mayor Feinstein,
So that's it.
I think we've got a two-pronged approach, it sounds like. I'm going to go with Catherine Park and with dog people again. Anybody else wants to do that to try and construct a solution. And then secondly, Mayor French, perhaps you could look into the enforcement. Do you already want to, anybody want to look into the enforcement side of things?
The enforcement, but I'd like to have Joe there too.
Joe Nito.
Yeah, he laid.
All right, well, we talked about it. So
Okay.
Joe Nito and Mayor French would be great, thank you.
And as part of that dialogue, one of the things that we talked about, could you have a segregated area? But of course, yeah, but the problem, the problem that would have to be discussed with that is what the impact would be to the surrounding neighbors. And would that attract more people from other areas because it would be a designated run? And that has to be considered because you don't want to affect the quality of life of the neighbors. So all those different parameters.
And that's where I think the Joe or the Councilman Sack, I think the dog, we can come up with a proposal. We may make the dog run only for residents in Tri-Town, Tri-City.
And you could limit, you could possibly limit by permit.
And charge a fee, a permit.
And limit by permit, at least it's.
First come, first serve.
I just wanted, in case you didn't see it, the West 4 News has a very long article about the dog issue here in Rydtown Park. And although he doesn't name a lot of names, he goes through pretty much the history of the last couple of years. So if anybody wanted to know more about the details, including the part about the dog run and the neighbors,
Right,
that's in
it was
there.
in there as well. It's interesting, I guess the last is the fact that we're seeing an increase in the dogs in Rybrook as well. Yeah, and for whatever. Yeah. You're cheering on Rybrook, though.
Yep, you go.
All right. You're on
Right into a
vacation
club's on
tonight?
vacation.
Yeah. I guess the next item is, about the sign committee and whether or not this is the final version.
You really didn't like my dog idea, huh?
Maybe.
Okay, we had, as you know, this whole committee got started in January. So while the winter was progressing, we were coming up with many different ideas, different color schemes, different messages. But those of you who were at the last meeting know that pretty much we ended up with the idea of this simple message, and then it was just going to be a question of whether it was going to be green on white or white on green. And we got both of them printed up, and the great majority rule was that the white stands out much brighter, and the color contrast is crucial. And so this is it, and it's pretty much exactly to scale. The signs are those dimensions, the current signs we have now. And in case some of you don't remember, in one of the previous monthly reports, we showed you what the old signs were, which were basically, it never really said welcome. It just said, don't do this, don't do that. Fines, $50 fine for this, so much for that. So we wanted the main signs that would be the first thing that people see to be a very positive, welcome to Rydtown Park. We do have the rules listed in the bulletin boards. We have 4 bulletin boards at the park. Each one has a list of the rules as they've been put together for this year, and I guess needs a final approval from the board. But so our feeling was, don't get into any details on these signs. We want that first message to be a positive one. Once they get inside the park and then they're going around, there will be these rules posted in a not inconspicuous, but at least it won't be like hitting you over the head.
You don't think please keep your dog on a leash is sort of positive?
Well, we
encouraging
do have
dogs
that.
to
That
come.
rule,
Right.
that rule is posted, and we not only do we have the sign.
You said it's in an obscure location, right?
No, not really. There's 4 locations.
4 bulletin boards.
4 bulletin boards. So, and also there are copies so that every staff person can have a copy of those rules. It's not just dogs. I mean, there are a variety of other rules too, which you have the list of. So
This has become a big problem, right?
but the thought was that we didn't want to get into that now. If anybody thinks about, please keep our park clean and safe, clearly that implies,
Not to 123
Yeah.
people who have dogs on
Well,
the leash.
I
I
mean,
think if it says on the sign, it's going to make a difference.
You know,
I think that we want the message to be a positive one. Now, obviously, the commission can do what they want, but this has been vetted and re-vetted
Nice.
6 months. And so this was, as you can see, the other thing that we did was the current signs where it says about please obey these rules are 4-inch. These are almost 5-inch. The top part, welcome to Rydtown Park, almost 5 inches high. We had the new and improved logo, which we had the original logo was basically just a copy from a T-shirt, and we now have it done digitally so that we can have it, high quality reproduction at even this size, which you can see is whatever that, I can't
It
really.
looks very nice.
So this is finished. There'll be 4. And there's 3 existing ones up. The 4th sign, which is where you come into the park from Playland, that sign got damaged by a storm a couple years ago. It wasn't replaced. So that one we'll need to get new posts for, because the old posts were destroyed. But the other 3 can be fit right into the existing posts.
I personally think that these are very clean, crisp, short and sweet, and positive.
Beautiful.
Bill, what are the signs made of, Bill?
So it's metal.
Metal? And you got, they're supported on either side, or one post in the middle?
There's posts.
On both sides?
They have these metal bars that go, and then you screw them into the back, so it's...
So spray paint graffiti, that's going to basically destroy the sign, right?
Well, that's...
No,
No?
no.
What do you do to get graffiti off a sign like that?
Well, we have graffiti remover and things of that nature, but these are vinyl, if I remember, vinyl on metal.
Oh,
The pressure applied.
No, this is metal on metal.
Oh, it's enameled, I'm sorry, it's enameled on.
This is, we wanted to have the highest quality possible so they couldn't be scratched off or fused
Right.
off. And I have to say, in all the years those old signs have been up, except for the one that got knocked down by the storm, I don't know that we've ever had anything.
You know Murphy's Law, right, Bill?
Yeah, I don't
We
want
should
to...
publicize this.
You don't want to shake the new sign.
You might want to get a couple extra signs. How much they cost each?
400
$400, over $400 each.
Yeah,
But we
roughly
can, we have the
$400.
digital, we can always get another one made up
Yeah.
without much trouble.
Same price?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, product.
What do you
He
think
said
is-
yes.
what-
I believe it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a local sign company from Portchester, I don't think we'll have any problem getting more, because it's basically, they just, it's designed by digital.
Piece of cake.
When do you think these can be up?
I would say 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Well, we have to order them and they have to make them, so,
Good.
but the design work is already done, so it's very quick.
I think we hear that this is the way to go.
beautiful.
Good.
Any other questions?
It's beautiful. All in
Good,
favor?
thank you very much. Thank the committee, the subcommittee. Yes.
Question, how come those signs are not made of Spanish? I mean, my mayor from Portchester, he should stand by that. What?
The main gateway entrance sign?
I don't care where it is, it should be in Spanish too. I mean,
You know,
we have
regarding the...
we have twice the population of Rye and Rye Brook.
We'll take that under advisement. We'll take that under
I
advisement.
think you ought to.
Thank you. No, that's pretty simple. That's You know,
Right.
yeah, that's a pretty simple message.
I suggested that to Bishop, but he frowned on it.
You know, the rules, I think, make sense, but this is a simple message. I mean, unless you want to do it like multilingual.
Okay.
As like the art, but honestly,
First,
like
we're
you
gonna
say,
just
the train
quick-
left the station,
quick
right?
do this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
quick.
You want it back?
What is it?
No, quick,
Oh,
just said,
financials.
sorry. No, nothing like that.
Financials.
They have to vote on the
We're good.
Get that
Oh, you
done.
did?
Yeah, you said aye.
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 Where was that?
You didn't do aye, that's why.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Commissioners, my name is Jim Terrio.
Hold the mic up, so we can hear you.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be. The microphone's right
You
there.
have to
Should be
speak into the
live.
mic.
Yeah, just, yeah.
Is there something for us, Bishop?
My name is Jim Terrio,
All right.
and I'm here with our audit manager, Bill Cochran.
Nice to meet you. No, I'm sorry.
No comment?
As of right now, no.
Okay. We're here to present the results of the 2011 audit of the Rye Town Park Commission, and try to be brief and to the point. Just some highlights of the Park Commission for this past year. The total assets of the general fund of the Rye Town Park Commission, $225,000. And of course, the liabilities are the same. We have a no fund balance, like switch, just in and out situation. That's just the fund balance for the general fund. The total fund balance of the Rye Town Park Commission is $4,496,000. The bulk of which is the land, buildings, improvements, machinery, and equipment of the Rye Town Park Commission, which is $3,960,000. So. But what we're seeing up here is just the assets and liabilities of the general fund.
$100,000 deficit.
Isn't it amazing that so you look, the real numbers to look at is.
Every year.
We've been
That's it.
amazingly consistent.
Yes,
Roll
going
for
down, you
ability
see
weather.
When did you start tweaking these stats?
you see the revenues and expenses for the 2011.
Last year. Yeah,
Sorry,
yes.
sorry, it is?
Last year was
You
when
can
we
see the
started.
$120,000 drop in expenditures. The expenditures dropped, right? Look at those
Yes,
expenditures.
right. The expenditures dropped, yes. So the expenses dropped, the revenues dropped also. So as you see there, as you said, $100,000 loss for the year, which is split, shared between the town and the city, Rye, 51% versus 49%. Their share of
Yeah,
the
you can
loss.
see the goal, Dennis, sorry to interrupt Jim, but the goal, if you look at our revenues for the 3 years, so if we can assume $925,000 in revenues, the goal is to get our expenditures to $925, and
Right.
we're good to go.
Right.
So last year we got it down to $946, we're $9,000 for the good this year, so we can finish, I don't know what we're budgeted, but we get our expenditures in at $925, on a 3-year average, we should be.
Budget like
I think we
912 or something?
budgeted 917.
Oh, it's all right.
Well, here's how I look at it. Sorry to interrupt you, I hit the pause button on your presentation. But we run at a $100,000 deficit, right? So the town and the city of Rye are funding $100,000 of those respective taxpayers' money for a park that's used 80% by outsiders, right? And wow.
Okay.
And this reflects the staffing tweaking that Terry, you earlier said that you can do.
But this is year-round cost, not just
Yeah,
something.
no, I understand, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, but we have to-
Actually, it's better. The years prior to that, the
Yeah.
deficit was greater.
Yeah, no, but this is.
402,007 or 450.
It's just a tick above 6 figures. It's just a tick above 6 figures, and we get it down to 5, right? And inch by inch, although we don't want it to move like a glacier, but, yeah, figure out a way by increasing revenues, et cetera.
Yeah, I think the good news is the expenditures are down,
Right.
Right.
and the revenue really took a hit because of the weather.
Right.
But it's about a $900,000 a year revenue line, and if we get the expenses down, I think, that's what people should
Oh,
hold.
what I want to point out is, as far as the revenues, $846,000, you did budget $1,050,000 for, and you generated $846,000. and the shortfall of 200,000. The biggest reason, the parking was $122,000 shortfall, and the admissions were another 90,000 shortfall. So we were 203,000 short of the budget of $1,050,000. And the expense side, you were actually in the positive side, $150,000 budget, and you came in at $946,000 total expenditures, for a positive $103,000. And the bulk of that was from the personnel, as we discussed that. With the control of the biggest expenditure on the expenditure side is at $600,000 of the total expenses of $946,000. That $600,000 of that was personnel, salaries and benefits. So obviously that's the having to control as best you can with revenues as they go up or down.
Can you give a quick summary of what the assets and liabilities encompasses, because it seems like a low number?
Well, just on the general fund, it's mainly cash, a small amount of investments, and receivables from interfund receivables. So that's all. And as I mentioned, on the entire balance sheet, the bulk of the assets of the physical plant, correct? Almost $4 million of that. So those are the main financial highlights for the past year. The only other things I wanted to mention regarding the audit for the 2011 year, any adjustments that were necessary for the financial statements were made, so we had no issues there. As always, with full cooperation from the staff. And we also do a review of internal control, the policies and procedures of the commission and of the park, and no material weaknesses were found in our test work. And as far as illegal acts or irregularities, there were none to report. These are the items we have to pass on to the board as full disclosure. So there were no issues as far as irregularities or illegal acts.
We haven't had the opportunity to see the draft of the financials, but there is, as you said, a management report usually associated.
Yes, there will be. Yes, there will be.
Can you give us an idea of some of the items, usually the recommendations for improvements and changes that are suggested? Can you give us an idea of what would be included in that management report and suggestions?
It's not finalized at this point.
Well, those are the things that we should be looking at,
Sure.
you know. Those haven't been finalized yet?
Well, we could discuss it with the town and with
Because that's what we really
Sam.
need to focus on as a mission.
When do you expect that to be available to the commission?
Sometime the next week or so.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long.
I just have a philosophical comment, which actually Commissioner Pilla mentioned. When we really look at our individual municipalities, there's a cost of running our parks because there may not be a revenue source associated with it, but you have personnel, you have upgrading, you have improvements and the like. If we really look at the cost, you don't break even. But philosophically, when we talk about do we have to break even here, I think what makes this situation different than what you experienced in Portchester and I experienced in Rybrook and maybe other parks is the fact that the use of the park is really so focused on non-residents.
Yeah.
And I think our goal, once again, it should be consistent with the fact, and we've done better, is to bring the residents back.
Encourage.
It's not the fact that we're telling non-residents not to, it's a public park, but to encourage residents to use the park.
We want our particular residents to
Right.
enjoy
And
that
I think,
spend,
and I
right?
think in some ways when we look at the deficit and we see the breakdown from the town of Rye and the city of Rye, you're saying, okay, we're footing the bill. Well, we usually foot the bill when it costs to maintain parks, but the difference is the usage is different in this particular town, this particular park, because it's predominantly non-residents.
What's the town population?
45,000.
So that's like a buck a head.
Well,
You can look at it that way too, actually.
what I can say is I'm doing my part as staff will tell you, and there's no more beautiful to promote residential usage.
It's beautiful. I was there last Friday for the relay on a Friday night. It's fabulous.
There's no more beautiful setting
Yeah.
in all of Westchester.
Beautiful.
And both at night, as you suggested, the
Right.
pavilions and
I mean, I was there for
low
a couple
tide.
hours.
There's no better. Low tide is absolutely fantastic concert. So we encourage everybody. I think they got a place called Carver's Corner in
This is no tight on.
Well done.
Is that your part?
I would just echo those sentiments. I mean, we ventured to go to lunch on Saturday at Seaside Johnny's. Beautiful day, packed, but the overall experience was great.
Yeah.
From parking, the attendance organized, to, you know, the whole experience. So kudos to the staff. I mean, if you could take a picture of how we want the operation to run, Saturday the 16th was the one that we should model after.
And I was there for the cancer relay on the Friday night, and we were there, my husband and I, for a couple of hours. We went to Seaside Johnny's as well afterwards, and everyone was courteous. It was great to see families. It was such a beautiful evening.
I was at
Same
Seaside
experience.
Johnny's on the 16th with my wife. That's funny.
Do we encourage people to go to Seaside Johnny? Johnny, we're giving you a little free publicity. It's well worth it.
And I actually spoke to Johnny.
I heard some people say it reminds us of Disney.
Yeah. Oh, that's not like
We're gonna keep it.
All right,
We had
great.
mini
I think-
It was great.
Any other questions for the auditors?
Yeah, well, I really look forward, obviously,
Yeah, we'll
to
get
the
that.
management
We'll get the
report.
report
Yeah.
to.
Mr. Chair, just one, like, so the formal exit process, who, in terms of the management report and things, so this is the closing conference, basically, where you guys.
Sorry, well, which the report has to be approved by.
So that's a separate act, that's the report we approve, you said?
Well, I don't think we'll approve it tonight. We
No,
wanted to
no,
present
right,
the numbers. I want you to have a chance to look at the financials, get the closing report. Tonight was really just to present the numbers, see confirm the $100,000 result, and then
And we'll wait for the report.
between now and the next meeting, you'll get the actual report and then the closing statement. The finance team will have a conversation next meeting.
And we'll try and get them out to you much sooner, much earlier for the next meeting.
Right.
Thank you, yeah.
Can we email the reports to all
Yeah,
the people?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
If you can send me the final versions at that particular point, I can distribute it.
As quickly as possible.
Well, the version you have now is the draft that they would approve. Because we won't do a final one until they approve it.
Well, we'll email.
Well, do we have a final findings report as well? I think we have the
We'll have
two.
to finalize that.
Yeah.
Right, I think we have the two.
Financials.
So what we'll do is we'll email the financials now, and then we'll email you the financial findings as soon as we know.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item is the operations, draft of the operations manual.
Now, I just want to be clear, we want to go into executive session, correct? We got to finish by, I guess we're okay.
Yeah.
So Greg, you just keep your,
He's only got a couple of slides.
you only had a couple of slides.
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering on G 3.272. I will, by the way, this is impressive, Fred. This is fully 3 years in the making, isn't it? This is
Craig goes to Bill.
Bill, congratulations.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
As Bishop mentioned, there are just 6 slides meant to highlight the first draft of the operations manual, which I think is in your packet. Clearly, it's an item that Fred and Bill have taken the lead on. Just kind of choreograph the results here, just kind of give you a peek into it.
We have a number of staff.
Yeah, you can sell. This is a good reading.
So at the moment, this is what the operations manual will eventually look like. And Bill, Fred, please comment. I think we're looking for a couple of areas to fill in, but the idea being that each of the operating departments will be broken down in a way that you can tell things that are pre-season, things that are seasons, things that are post-season and off-season in each case, so that, you know, having gone through the service, everything was by a manual. So everyone could really get a good handle on how to approach each of these topics. And in addition, I think, Bill, you did a really nice job of kind of a standard position description, job description. And so, not only for the supervisor, but for the line positions as well. and also trying to get a sense of the overall operation, not only at individual department levels, but the overall operation. Craig, do I want to comment
Sorry,
on this?
can I just, because that's a presidential card.
Yeah, wow.
I think that we're gonna blazon that. We're French president.
I believe that's the original legislation.
I think you might want to think I'm park commissioner. Sure.
Well, the assistant park director is Bill. Supervisor security and parking is Joe Nito. The assistant park director for finance is Terry.
Fred, why don't you go up there so people can.
Who's the coordinator?
I don't have a,
Who's the coordinator, Fred?
the coordinator is Bishop.
And who's the confidential secretary?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bishop is the confidential secretary, and I guess Greg is the coordinator?
Greg is the coordinator.
Yeah.
So he's on the payroll in Rec-Town Park?
No.
No.
Oh, he's on the org chart.
It's on the org chart. It's another donation.
Free help. Thank you
Rye
very
City,
much.
as it struggles with its finances, we contributed.
Thank you very much.
Park foreman is Frank DeLeo, and the captain lifeguards is Mark Casada. We have security sergeants day and evening, different rangers. We do have a parking assistant. We try to have a supervisor of the parking people managing them, along with Joe overseeing it. Supervisor of cashiers, which Terry handles. Park attendants that work along with Frank. The assistant to the assistant to the assistant. I can't read that. The captain, yeah, that's the captain. One lieutenant, and I think he has 2 lieutenants, right? Then there's 10 rangers under Joe. There's 10 parking attendants under Joe. He's running those 2 departments. That was one way we were able to save money. Supervisor of cashiers and 18 cashiers. And same with the lifeguards. 18 lifeguards. Yes. Good point.
Great. Excellent. Well, listen, this has been 2 or 3 years in the making, and I think that, again, the park operations have improved every year. Bill, I want to thank you for the hard work, Fred, Terry, Frank.
The goal is so that when you open up that, you know exactly what we do the first day we're going to do.
Exactly. Beautiful. Sorry.
In every aspect.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Real quick, first of all, it's great, but I have a question about the beach safety plan.
We have
Close to the dog. The dog.
What's the status?
There's on page 19, if you look on page 19, what I had done last year, rather than at that point including the whole report, I mentioned on page 19 that there is a 7-page beach safety report on file at Town Park, and that these are the topics that are included in it. So once we get that,
Where is that? I'm sorry, on page 19?
On 19.
These procedures, oh.
Yeah.
So the thing is that this is an old-fashioned print copy.
There's one that this captain has of his beach safety, and there's one that I have.
Okay.
That we
It needs to be
make
entered
we put in
into
the
the
application.
I just wanted to confirm it exists, right?
Yeah, if I could interject, the commission.
To be combined into one.
Right. The commissioners will see that this document will continue to grow with addendums and so forth. What we are really looking for is any feedback you could provide that says you might be missing certain things like you just did. You know, where's the beach safety plan? Where is whatever else you think might be here?
If we could see, actually, if we could see it, you know.
Yeah, well, that'll be part of the
Beach
final.
safety expert.
It'll be part of the plan.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's, but everyone should really have an opportunity to at least this version to read it carefully before the next meeting, if we can get that beach safety.
Yeah. Perfect.
And you intend to combine those 2?
Yeah, we'll be able to put that out. We'll also include samples of the various financial reports and things of that nature as well.
So I just want to, this is exactly what we need, and I think in the age of transparency to the public, and a lot of us will come and go on the sports, some of us will maybe go to higher office. It's important that we've got our policies and procedures out there for the public, and that will sustain over time. So congratulations on this, it's great work.
Excellent, thank you very much.
I think we're at the stage now where,
There's of course, you have a letter here.
well, that's primarily for your edification.
And it's inaccurate anyhow.
We're not yet.
Because it was a letter from a non-resident complaining about the fee structure, and when we do the analysis, that there wasn't a savings by, in fact, purchasing a permit, but she used the wrong numbers.
One question I was over in Harrison the other day, and they've got a beautiful new park. If residents are proximate to us want to use Town Park, I would ask that we have reciprocal rights. And we talked about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that.
You're talking about what?
Talking about their move.
Well, I'm just saying if, you know, I gotta say, Westchester's just a beautiful county, and there's lots of beautiful parks, and I guess my point is, if there's communities that are proximate to the park, and they want, I don't know, I remember we talked a little bit about something like that last time.
We talked about it, but the problem was, which communities are you talking about?
Well, Harrison, I guess Harrison,
But Harrison is very broad. Harrison also encompasses purchase.
Yeah.
So what are you going to, I mean,
Well, it'd have to be reciprocal. In other words, they'd have to
We accept
allow
them
them.
as non-residents, so you're saying that they
To
accept
the
us as
extent-
non-residents.
Right.
Where
Do
do
we
you
accept
talk-
them if we don't accept them?
No.
Right. If we were to accept them.
but what about Mamaroneck? Mamaroneck
No,
is
we
also.
accept them, Harrison, as non-residents.
We do.
Well, you accept everybody.
You accept everyone as
Yeah.
non-resident.
Oh, right, right.
No, but I
Now, it
think
used to just be Harrison and
He's saying make a
make-
deal where it's, you
they're
know,
giving them a
only
financial.
10% more instead
Right.
of 20 or something like that.
I looked into that last
Oh,
year.
you did, okay.
And the thing is, and I asked people in Rye, because the only thing that would really be of interest to most Rye people would be the pool, which is located way up in Silver Lake. So most people that I talked to didn't feel that that was something.
Moses and Rye Brook are a little closer, Bill, but I mean.
What? Well, Rye Brook, but they're already part of the arrangement, eh?
Yeah, I did speak with the new mayor and one of the former mayors of Harrison about working on this type of program. There was some interest. They actually thought it was still in place. And I said no. And so we've talked about maybe they make a donation to the park of, say, $50,000 for that right, or we have a reciprocal arrangement. So it's really in the details. They're open to it, but they haven't, I asked a couple people on the board as well, they haven't really pushed the concept. So.
We should follow, do you want to follow up on that,
I
Bill?
like the idea of the money.
Well, do you want to follow up?
Well, we have to see,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, you have to see whether or not there'll be more usage and will this have an impact on parking. You have to do a whole analysis of it, what.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
related to that, if this is an active wish, the consensus of the board to kind of start to consider go down that path, maybe you guys, remember before we were talking about the tick sheet with the zip codes? Maybe you could find a way to, just when you're taking the parking money from people, just try to count how many people are from these communities we're interested in. Because, that would help us with the pro forma, to see how much revenue we'd lose or the potential upside.
If you look at
It's not arduous.
your May statistics, you'll see that we've more than doubled the amount of non-resident permits that have been issued this year already.
You can give us the zip codes like you did last year, at least with respect to,
Sure.
to see where we're drawing from, which communities.
Because
as far as the
then we could
non-resident.
sell to Mayor Belmont how much it's worth to him.
Or maybe even
20,000
that.
visits, yeah, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, maybe the next meeting, at least for the permits we have, and then we can get that information, so we can see of the non-resident permits. It's not that hard, they're not that many, that we can get that information.
They also have the dog park.
Oh, now we're talking.
But they
We'll
limit,
provide the shuttle.
but they limit the number, they have a cap on how many people can avail themselves.
It is 7:34.
All right. And I think there's a desire to go to executive session.
We have a motion,
To
second,
discuss
to go to
litigation.
executive session.
Is the motion?
Second,
Second.
second.
Okay.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, Steph. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that.